Okay, Declan, way to start the day off. Dr. Todd Bickling is coming up on this side next. And I think you'll really enjoy his speech. I was talking to him yesterday. I'm not going to divulge his trade secrets. Hey, Les. But it's a great story because it's a continuation of a speech he gave in Detroit about 5 months ago. So it detailed the struggles then and the successes now. So, Todd, it's all you, man.
Hello, everybody. First, I want to say thank you to Corey, John, Nicole, Chris, Joe, Sean, Matt, Stacy, everybody who continues to bring me out here. I really appreciate it. For those of you who don't know, for some reason I don't take vacations. I haven't been on vacation since 2012. So if it wasn't for Chrisad, I wouldn't have a vacation. So anyway. You know, I talked to Chris Turnus last night. For those of you who don't know me, it's like personally, it's almost that way on purpose because if you don't know me, I'm actually an introvert. I'm very shy. I kind of like being in my own little bubble. And Chris is like, well, that's weird because you go up on stage. Are you nervous on stage? I'm like, no, not nervous at all on stage. The only thing that really freaks me out is just before I come on stage, I always run to the restroom, and I'm afraid these guys are going to turn the mic on when I do that. So thank you for not turning the mic on. Oh. So I've been a dentist about 20 years. I'm the CEO of Strong Smiles Dental Care. I own it with my partner, Dr. Victoria Yu. I actually stepped away from the chair in 2016. Stopped seeing patients about 2 years ago, and now I just focus on running the business. I kind of got caught up in that whole, John talks about the Bahamas principle. You can run your business from the Bahamas. I was like, oh yeah, that's me, the guy that hasn't taken a vacation in 7 years. So I kind of got caught up in that, and then I realized it's not easy at all. And I'm going to talk about some of those struggles. I'll be honest with you, the last 2 years of my life have been the most difficult years of my career. I'm going to go over some of those struggles with you because we are now a fully associate-driven model. We have 2 locations in Maryland, and we're open 7 days a week and extended hours, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., and that's a struggle, okay? So nothing that we go through on a day-to-day basis is easy. So I just want to throw that out there right now. One of the things, so here it is. This is me and my partner, Dr. Victoria Yu. We own Strong Smiles Dental Care. And there's my contact information if you guys want to get a hold of me. I'm going to back up a little bit here. A couple of points I want to make before I get into this slide. One of the reasons, I actually was not always an introvert. I actually used to be very extroverted when I was younger. But the more I opened my mouth, the more I found I pissed people off. So anybody ever piss anybody off? Raise your hands. We have Justin's the only one that pissed somebody off, right? Come on, throw them up. If you want this to be a good speech, I need some participation here. So I have about 30% of you have pissed somebody off, right? And let me ask you this. When you pissed somebody off, was your mouth involved? Yeah. It's just, man, my mouth just kept getting me in trouble, both with patients, with girlfriends, with everybody, man, big guys, hey, right? I was a mouthy little kid. And then one day I decided that maybe I'll just button it. And I'll use these. And so I kind of became a little bit more quiet in my old age, and I start using these. And I found that these have never pissed anybody off. So if there's one thing you learn, if you fall asleep right now, if there's one thing you learn, this is way more likely to piss somebody off than these, okay? There you go. Thank you very much. Second point I want to make before I get into it is I mentioned I don't see patients anymore. I lied. I've seen 4 patients this year. All of these patients were large cases, $10,000 or more, and virtually all of them were second opinions. And I have a 100% case acceptance on those 4 patients. I love second opinions. I love them. And at least 2 of those second opinions were second opinions who came from a doctor within one of our offices. So they stayed in the practice. Good, good. I love second opinions. I'll sit at the morning huddle, and I'll see a second opinion. The front desk will force it on my schedule. I'll say, I'm not seeing patients. They're like, we don't care. You're seeing this patient, because they know it's going to get sold. And I'll sit at that morning huddle, and I'll say, yeah, it's sold. I know it's sold. And because one of the things that I've realized with second opinions, well, one, they didn't like the first opinion. We would all agree on that, right? But the real big thing that I've learned about second opinions is they're not coming in to find my opinion. Whose opinion are they looking for? Their opinion. They're not looking for my opinion. They're looking for their opinion. I just have to help them find it. And I don't do it with my mouth. I do it with my ears. And I do it by asking them questions. Tell me about your first opinion. Question. What were your thoughts on that? Question. What would you like to do? Question. And if they tell me what they would like to do, as long as it's legal, moral, ethical, and has a fair or better prognosis, or good or better prognosis, this is my response. Are you ready? By the way, if you say these words, you will get a 100% case acceptance. What would you like to do? And they tell me, here's my response. Okay. Now, I know that sounds a little simple, so I can make it more complicated for you. What would you like to do? They tell me their response. Here's a more complicated version. Yup, I agree. So if you can find yourself saying those words in a treatment plan consultation, you will have a 100% case acceptance. But the only way you're going to say those words is if you can get the patient to tell you their opinion. And all you got to do is agree with it. Again, as long as it's moral, ethical, legal, good or better prognosis, you just go, okay. The hard part comes when they don't know what their opinion is. They got no clue. And we're going to get into that a little bit later. Some of the stuff I'm going to talk about, we're going to talk about awareness and concern, and some of you have seen me before, have been through that. We're going to get into that the second half. That's helping them find their opinion. Okay? So if you learn two things today, if you can fall asleep right now, I'm giving you permission to fall asleep right now, but if you learn two things today, one, you're more likely to piss people off with your mouth, impossible to piss them off with the ears. And patients, not only second opinions, because by the way, every patient that walks through their door, they are not looking for your opinion. They're looking for their opinion. And all you have to do, if you want 100% case acceptance, is agree with it. Again, as long as it's moral, legal, ethical, so on and so forth. All right, so moving forward. Doctors, any doctors in here have associates? Raise your hands, I would like to see them. Great, great, lots of doctors with associates. Oh, we got music? Doctors, tell me if this sounds familiar. You're sitting in your office, minding your own business. The associate walks in. Hey, doc, I just sold a $20,000 case, right? And there, boom. I'm like, good for you. And the first thing that always pops into my mind is, did they pay? And they're like, oh, yeah, man, they paid. Well, they're gonna pay. I mean, I explained all the options. I gave them my recommendation. I told them about the good, the better, the best. I told them about the pros and the cons, the sequelae of not getting treatment. I raised their dental IQ. I built value. The patient was in there nodding. They're gonna get it done. I'm like, hey, doc, I hate to burst your bubble, but there's your patient. Can't get out of there fast enough, right? Happens all the time. Where are my treatment planners? Raise your hands. I want to see my treatment planners. I got Justin, good, good. Anybody, we got a couple down here. Any others? Over there, good. Tell me if this sounds familiar. Your doctor comes to you. I got a patient sitting in the chair. They're fired up. They're ready to go. They're nodding their head. I explained all the options, good, better, best. Informed them, educated them, raised their dental IQ, built value, gave them all the sequelae of not getting dentistry done. All you gotta do, I set them up. All you gotta do is go in there and collect the money. Aren't you lucky? So you walk in the operatory or the treatment planning room, wherever. You sit down. You slide that little piece of paper across the table to the patient. They take one look at it. And, oh, hell no! Right? You laugh because it's true. It happens all the time. And the reason why it happens, again, we're an associate-driven model. The reason why it happens, there's a complete disconnect between what we doctors believe and what the rest of the universe believes, apparently. There's a difference in perception. We doctors are seeing and saying one thing, and everybody else in the universe is seeing something completely different. Some of you see a rabbit, some of you see a duck. That's why we run into some of these problems. So I want to share this little story with you. If you look, some of you, if you follow me on LinkedIn or something like that, I posted a video. Saturday morning, December 29th. The Saturday before New Year's Eve. Now I want you guys to think about this. The Saturday before New Year's Eve. The 2 weeks prior to this, all of my dental friends on Facebook were bragging about how they're going, so-and-so's on vacation. Their office is closing down for the last 2 weeks of the year. The Saturday before New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve was on a Tuesday. 6:50 in the morning. Patient walks in the door. You can see that I'm pointing at our Strong Smiles location. You see the truck right there. Patient walks in the door. 6:50 in the morning, Saturday morning. Nobody is open. We don't even open until 8 o'clock on Saturdays. But, our staff is filtering in. Patient walks in the door. Guys, I was up all night. Had a broken tooth. One of our associates jumps up, snaps his finger. He does that. He snaps his finger. Let's get a room set up, right? We're not even open for an hour. Everyone jumps into action, runs back, starts setting up a room. The guy starts filling out his 1 page of paperwork. The front desk is making some small talk with him. And I am so happy on the inside. I'm like, we get it. This is what brings me joy. This is why we do it. Because at 6:50 in the morning, on a Saturday morning before New Year's, we were able to help this guy. So scrap the morning huddle. Let's go see this guy. I jump up. I'm walking over to Panera to buy them all bagels, right? I'm so happy. I love it, right? And I'm creating this little video. Hey, y'all, look at this. Over there, Strong Smiles, 7 days a week. Look at that. Our doctors take care of them. It's awesome, right? Feeling good, get the bagels, walk back over. Hey, guys, I got bagels, right? Put them in the break room, and I go and sit down in my office. And I look up, and I see the guy walking out of the patient walking out of the office holding a treatment plan. And so I go to my associate, and I'm like, what happened? He's like, told him about it, told him everything he needs. He's going to go home and think about it. I was like, what's there to think about? The guy was up all night. Broken tooth. Tooth number 30 is broken. What's there to think about? We can take care of him before we actually open. Oh, he just said he didn't want to do it right now. So, I kind of let it go because sometimes talking with associates is, gets my dander up. So I was like, all right, whatever. Let's move on. So at the end of the day, we have this app called NextHealth that sends out little text messages to all of our patients, and just simple text. How was your visit? 1 to 5. They just click the star, and we get dozens of these every day. And on that day, Saturday morning before New Year's, we had 38 reviews. We saw 38 patients, had 38 reviews. Only one of them was a negative review. Do you know which one it was? The guy that we saw at 6:50 in the morning on a Saturday before New Year's. And I was like, this is that disconnect. This is that disconnect that we're talking about. If there was nobody in Maryland that could have served that gentleman better than us, and we blew it. So I went in and I did a deep dive. This was the treatment plan. And you look at the chart, there's nothing wrong with that. That's not a massive treatment plan. This was the cost of that treatment plan. So we have to step back and we have to say, what is not our reality? What is the patient's reality? And by the way, I told you that patient was making chit-chat with the front desk. The chit-chat he was making was, he's on a shoestring budget, his words. He has 2 elderly parents, both in their 90s, living with him that he takes care of. And he was up all night with a broken tooth and a toothache, tooth number 30. And what do our doctors do? Give him an $8,000 option at 6:50 a.m. on a Saturday morning. There he goes out the door. We run into this all the time. The first 30 minutes of my lecture, I'm going to cover this. And then all I start doing is once this happens, I just wait for the 1-star review, right? The evil, greedy dentist. So I have a few of these I'm going to bring up. I just went online, Googled dentist in my area, just start looking at the 1-star reviews. Just do it. Google the dentists in your area. Look at the 1-star reviews. What are they all about? Money. They try to push expensive dental work. I love this one. Same thing happened to me. I was told I needed deep cleaning. It would cost an extra $65. That's a bargain. From our perspective, what is it from the patient's perspective? It's a ripoff. Because their cleaning is how much? Free. This place is a scam. This dentist deserves no stars. The staff is horrible and the dentist should not be one. All this place wants is your money, and they don't care about your health. I wish I could give them 0 stars. Long story short, this place will lie. They're liars. Steer clear, very clear. They will say anything and everything to get your money. Fraud. They just want our money, and they will lie about it. Joke, $2,200 for a root canal, core, and crown? That's a reasonable cost, right? For us, crook of a dentist. All my greedy, evil dentists, raise your hands, please. But raise your hand if you've gotten a review like this. Yeah. You're not greedy and evil in your own minds. Difference in perception. And we got to understand this. And we have to appreciate this difference of perception. I tell our staff, patient satisfaction is not treating a patient how you want to be treated. It's treating them better than they expect to be treated. You know, the first part of this is like the golden rule, right? The golden rule, do unto others as you would have done unto you. I want you to think about that. That's the exact opposite of empathy. Empathy is putting yourself in somebody else's shoes. This first thing, don't treat them as the way, that's putting them in your shoes. That's telling them that $2,200 for a root canal, core, and crown is reasonable. No, that's putting them in your shoes. That's the exact opposite of empathy. Patient satisfaction is not treating them how you want to be treated. It's treating them better than they expect to be treated. And those can be 2 very different things. We're always trying to put patients in our shoes. We need to put ourselves in patients' shoes. They may think and believe different things than we do. So how does this apply to the real world? Because these thoughts, these ideas have real-world consequences. This was Strong Smiles Dental Care. This was our Edgewater location for the first 2.5 years of our operations. This is our production. At this time, I and my partner, Dr. Victoria Yu, were both very high-producing dentists. We were working chairside. Not necessarily full-time the entire time. We also hired associates along the way. In your slides, you'll see some arrows that I put on there, but each of those arrows corresponds to these big dips. Those big dips are where we started to hire associates. But Dr. Yu and I were still working. And even on a day and a half a week, Dr. Yu and I outproduced 4 full-time associates. And then we had this funny idea in December of 2016, right after flying back from a Chrisad conference. We're going to become an associate-driven model. We're no longer going to own jobs. We're going to own a business, and we're going to run this business from the Bahamas. And this is what happened. This is through December 2018. This is recent data. I would give you more updated data. Actually, the updated data looks better, but I had to get these slides in. This is through December 2018. Look what happened when we became an associate-driven model. I know a lot of you guys are going to say, well, that's because associates just can't produce as much as owner doctors, and that is true. But there's more to it than that. It's not just they can't do big cases, because Dr. Yu and I are there to do the big cases, or help with the big cases, as a matter of fact. But this is our field hygiene. On the one side, on the left there, that's your left, right? Yeah. On your left there, that was the first 2.5 years when Dr. Yu and I were seeing patients. And then look what happened. The green arrow is when we became an associate-driven model. Now, the good news is you're going to see there's a little upward trend there towards the end, and we've been working on some things to make that happen. Now, I want to let you guys know this. Last night, somebody approached me at Jewel nightclub. Anybody go to a nightclub last night? That was my first time getting wanded down, by the way. I was like so scared. Like, what do people bring into these places? So anyway, somebody came up, somebody said, and I apologize for not remembering who it was, but they said, you're just so insightful with some of the things you say. And I said, no, I'm really not. I just get kicked in the every day, and I tell you about it. That's all it is. I just get kicked where it hurts every single day, and then I tell you about it. There's nothing insightful about that. It's painful. But one of the things that Chrisad has said is, as case acceptance increases, or as out-of-pocket costs increase, case acceptance plummets. And I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with their statistics. But that ain't me. If you look here, I wasn't here yesterday, but I'm certain John showed this slide. If you look, when I was practicing full-time, my average production per field hygiene was almost $2,200. There's only one person on this list, Dr. Eric Hires. Is Dr. Hires in here? Dr. Hires? I salute you. Right? It doesn't have to be that way. But across the United States, statistically speaking, only about 25 or 30% of diagnosed dentistry actually gets treated. And if you ask me, I think that's terrible, because that means 70% of the dentistry that you diagnose is walking around there. These are 70% of the people that actually call up your office, walk through your door, take a seat in your chair, and go, no, can I just get 30% of that done? And at Strong Smiles, when we became an associate-driven model, our case acceptance was down to 17%. 17%. And, Matt and Chris and Sean and all of our reps are like, are your associates blowing them out of the water? And I'm like, no, they're not. Because, and this was the mistake I made, because my idea of blowing them out of the water was like $20,000 case, $30,000 case. I'm like, they're just presenting, $3,000 to $2,500, so on and so forth. These treatment plan cases aren't massive. So Chrisad, one of their sayings is, if a patient is not having a problem, do not give them a treatment plan that exceeds their insurance maximums. And I first heard that, and I'm like, what? What are you talking about? I can't not diagnose it and treatment plan it. A non-diagnosis is as good as a misdiagnosis. But listen, just because that dentist who saw that patient at 6:50 in the morning on a Saturday morning before New Year's just because his treatment plan was accurate does not make the patient like him and does not make the patient trust him. And just earlier, Declan talked about the 3 big things we have to overcome. I'm going to add a 4th. So he talks about, money, pain. I'm going to say fear instead of pain. So money, pain, and time. The 4th one, which I think is the biggest one, is trust. And we're going to spend the next 10, 15, 20 minutes on trust. Because I gained a very valuable insight getting kicked where it hurts. So we're going to talk about trust. Because I think this is the big objection in dentistry, is trust. So Matt Pryor, Sean Grace, everybody, Chris, Joe, they've been saying, Dr. Bickling, what's your new patient retention rate? And I said, I don't know. I track all kinds of statistics. Justin knows. I track statistics, spreadsheet. But I didn't know my new patient retention rate. And the reason why is because my software won't do that. I would have to do it manually. So I got one of my staff to do it for me. And so we just started this July of last year. What I did was I went back 9 months. I went back to November 1st, 2017, through almost the end of January. I found out how many new patients we had. We had 435 new patients in those just about 3 months. This is excluding military patients because one of our offices is near a military base. We get another 100, 150 from the military base. But these are just patients that come in through regular marketing. And of those 435 new patients, we lost 203 of them. Never came back for a second visit. 203 of them never came back. 47% lost. 53% retention rate. And that shocked me. We're paying John, Chrisad, all this money to bring these patients in, and half of them never come back. It shocked me. I was horrified. So then I wanted to break it down. All right, who's the guilty party? Which associate's kicking them out the door, right? So our Edgewater associate number 1 was responsible for 33 of those patients. Associate number 2 was responsible for 30. Number 3, 32 patients. Our Odenton office, associate number 1 was responsible for 46, and associate number 2 was responsible for 55. And Dr. Yu does work part-time. She was responsible for 7. So I said, okay, Chrisad, put your money where your mouth is. Let's see what the treatment plan, the average treatment plan cost was of each of these doctors. So we broke it down again. Associate number 1, $2,200. These are patients that did not come back. Average treatment plan cost, $2,200. 36, 38, 44. And Dr. Yu, by the way, another high-producing dentist, only responsible for 7 lost patients. Her average treatment plan cost was 10 grand of the 7 that she lost. By the way, we had done this again. I don't have this slide. One of the times we did this, I was responsible for 3 lost patients, and my average treatment plan cost on those 3 lost patients was $27,000. But okay, so, again, I only step in if it's a big case and the associates need help. But I want you guys to look at this. Look at the associates. Which one lost the most? Associate number 5. And who had the biggest treatment plan? Associate number 5. So the average treatment plan cost for the patients we lost was $3,600. Where's Declan at? Declan, you see that $3,600 number before? That was the exact number he said, wasn't it? And I tell you, we did not collaborate on this. I saw that. I was like, boom, there it is. So our average treatment plan cost of the patients that we lost, the ones that never came back, was $3,600. So then I said, okay, forget about the bad news. What about the good news? What was the average treatment plan cost of the patients we kept? Oh, wait, before I go into that. So again, my perspective, $3,600 is not a huge number. That's my perspective. I had a misconception. So now I tell my doctors, they get up around that $3,600 range, I say, Doc, your treatment plan is biting off more than your personality can chew. So we had to come up with a number. I said, that's your likability limit, $3,600. Or your personality plateaus. Plateaus, $3,600. That's where your personality plateaus. This is your sales ceiling. You are not allowed to sell over $3,600. communication cap. Finally, we came down to the danger zone. I mean, I figured that was the nicest version of those. But that's our danger zone. Danger, danger. But of the patients that we kept, the average treatment plan cost, look what it was, $1,595, right at their insurance maximums, isn't it? Just like Chrisad says. So I was like, you're right. Son of a... You're right. But then I realized something. That $1,500 represents something, doesn't it? It represents trust. Because if John is telling me that that's the case all across the United States, and I'm finding it to be true in my office, that means that a patient walks in your door, they give you $1,500 worth of trust. There you go, doc. You got $1,500 worth of trust. And by the way, if it's a cleaning or a perio or a gross debridement, what's the dollar amount there? 0. They give you $0 worth of trust if it's a cleaning, perio, something like that. Anything above that, they don't trust you. But in terms of restorative dentistry, they give you $1,500 worth of trust. And this came to me. This is an epiphany. We now can objectively measure trust. You think about it. Trust is this obscure thing. How do we measure trust? Right there. That's how you measure trust. You just find the patients that came back and what was their average treatment plan cost. There's your definition of trust right there. So the way I look at it now is I look at it like a stoplight. If their treatment plan is $1,500, in this case $1,595 or less, go for it. Present it. Again, if they're not experiencing a problem, and we're going to get into awareness and concern later. Remember, Chrisad says if they're not experiencing a problem, do not give them treatment plans that exceed their insurance maximums. They didn't say don't diagnose it. They didn't say don't treatment plan it. They said don't give them a treatment plan that goes above their insurance maximums. So I look at it like a stoplight. If it's $1,595 or below, go for it. And by the way, I don't tell my doctors this. I tell my treatment planners this. Treatment planners, I don't care what the doctor says. You are not allowed to give a treatment plan out that goes above $1,595 unless the patient is begging for it. Please let me spend $10,000 on my teeth. You're not allowed to do it. And we know for a fact that if it's $3,600 a month or more, $3,600 or more, do not go there. Stop. But what about that area in between? That's the danger zone. Fly into the danger zone. And so what do you do in that zone? It's just like a red light, just like a stoplight. What do you do when the light turns yellow? Speed up. Floor it! You pump the brakes is what you do. I know you want to fly into the danger zone, but let's pump the brakes. You pump the brakes. You say, well, okay, let's just reevaluate this because this could go one of two ways. A year and a half ago, I was hit by a car that ran a red light, so. It's the danger zone. You got to be worried. And I tell my staff, if you are uncertain, drop the treatment plan down. You say, and again, I'm not saying don't diagnose at all. This was that patient. I'm not saying don't diagnose at all. You can diagnose at all. I'm not saying don't treatment plan at all. You can treatment plan at all. Just don't present a treatment plan that exceeds their level of trust. And that's what that danger zone represents. That's what that green light represents. It represents trust. So we tell our staff now, you have two jobs. You have to treat a patient better than they expect to be treated, and you have to present treatment plans that fall below their level of trust, below the danger zone, okay? And if it's a big case, you say, Mr. Jones, I know you were up all night with your toothache. We're going to address that. First, I want you to see all this red on the screen. Those are teeth I have concerns with. We're not going to focus on that right now. What we're going to do is we're going to focus on this one tooth that you're worried about, and we're going to take care of that for you. Would you like to get started today? Question. And it doesn't matter if your treatment plan is right. It just doesn't matter. Being right doesn't matter because you're kicking them out the door. If they don't have your trust, you're kicking them out the door. And then who wins in that scenario when the patient leaves? Who wins? Does the patient win? Nobody wins. Nobody wins in that scenario. So listen, we've got to get our minds straight if you want to help people. Us being right all the time, we're kicking people out the door. And, I tell you, that was such a struggle for us. And again, the last 2 years have been the most difficult 2 years of my career. So our docs say, well, how am I going to make any money? How am I going to make any money on $1,500? My friend just did a hybrid all on 2 or whatever they're doing now. So how are you going to make any money? Let's do some math, shall we, doctor? So in 2018, Strong Smiles Dental Care, we collected $4.4 million. Okay, it's good, not bad. We had 3,600 active hygiene patients. So in the last 6 months, we had 3,600 patients. So we had 7,200 filled hygiene in the year. So 3,600 active hygiene patients. If we just did $1,500, just the insurance, we would have collected $5.4 million. Just do the math. If we had just done what the insurance covered, we would have collected an extra $1 million. How am I going to make any money? You do it just like Declan said, with the basics. It's freaky how often, we get, us speakers, we get some of the same stuff. It's freaky. We would have collected an extra $1 million. I would take that. So docs, how are you going to make money? That's how you're going to make money, not kicking them out the door. And since we've gone to this danger line thing, so we used to have a treatment plan case acceptance of about 17%. And we track this every week. We track it every week. And since we've gone to this danger line model, treatment planner's not allowed to do it, don't do it. Our case acceptance has been above 50% every single week. And we track each individual treatment planner. And our baseline is 25%. If they go below 25%, we're going to do an investigation. What happened? And I guarantee you, I promise you, every time one of our treatment planners has gone below 25%, I do a deep dive. Guess what I find? I find a treatment plan that's $4,000, $5,000, $6,000. And then I just got to, we re-educate. I heard somebody ask a question yesterday. How do you get a doctor to do X? How do you do? You just every week. Every week. I see you nodding your head. It's nonstop. It's every week. Okay? So we do it once a week. We go over this stuff. So if you want to have an objective measurement of how much your patients trust you, just go back 9 months. So go back June 1 through August 31. Go back 9 months and track those 3 months there. How many new patients did you have in that time period? Go back there and track it. How many of them came back for either a 3, 4, or 6 month recall? How many of those patients came back? How many of them actually came back? What was the average treatment plan cost of the patients that you lost? That's your red light. Don't go there. But more importantly, what was the average treatment plan cost of the patients that you kept? And just keep repeating that exercise every 3 months. We do it once a quarter. We've gone through 3 cycles now, and we've come up with some very interesting data. I'm very excited. Hopefully, John and Corey invite me to speak again because I want to share what we learn as we go through this, because this is a learning process for us, okay? Just repeat that exercise every 3 months, and you will find an objective measurement of how much your patients trust you. The cost of the treatment plan of the patients that return, that's how much they trust you. You've just created an objective measurement of trust. So as I mentioned, that's it. Go for it all the time. Present that treatment plan. $1,500, present it all day long. $3,600, they don't trust you. Whatever that number is, they don't trust you. You haven't earned it. They will trust you up to $1,500. Everything above that, you have to earn. And by the way, again, you don't earn it with your mouth. You earn it with your ears and your eyes. 85% of communication is what? Nonverbal, right? So why are we talking so much? And right there, that's the danger zone. Some of you want to floor it, that's fine. I suggest pump the brakes. I think you'll get better results. So what we have learned over the last 9 months of doing this, we've actually raised our floor from $1,595 to $2,500. We just did this in January. And the average treatment plan cost along both offices, and both offices were equal, was $2,500. We raised it by $1,000. So knowing this data, knowing this level of trust, it helps you in two ways. Because the first way it helps you is if patients trust you, they're gonna come back, right? And so your filled hygiene is gonna increase. That's the first way it's gonna help you. But the second way it's gonna help you is if you know what your limitations are, maybe you can work on those limitations. And maybe you can raise that floor. So not only do we have more patients coming back, but we've raised that floor up to about $2,500. So now I tell our treatment planners, look, your green light is $2,500. Go for it. Guys, raise your hands if you would be happy with that. There should be a lot of hands going up. I'm quite happy with that. I mean, I'd like to get it up higher, but man, that's some incredible progress in just 9 months. So how did we do that? Because this is where we get into the big leagues. Because remember, that first part of just finding trust, that's just simply saying, don't give a treatment plan over $1,500. That's simple. But raising that floor, that's the tough part. And this is where we get into this. This gets into communication and how to communicate with somebody. I stole some of this from Paul Homily. Okay, I want to give Paul Homily credit because some of this changed my life as a dentist. But I've added my own stuff to it. So when a patient walks in, again, John Christensen said, if they are not experiencing a problem, do not give them a treatment plan that exceeds their insurance maximums. But Todd, how are you collecting and producing $2,200 per filled hygiene patient? I said it's more complicated than just if they're not experiencing a problem. We have to know if they are aware of issues and if they're concerned about it. Are they aware of any problems? And are they concerned about it? Do they give a crap? And those are two different things. They're two different things. So let's go through them one by one. All of the dentistry that walks into your office, by the way, it's attached to a person, all of that dentistry is going to fall into one of these four categories. They're first either going to be aware and concerned about a problem. All right, they're aware of it. Doc, I was riding my skateboard, ran into a tree, broke my front tooth. It hurts, it's flopping around, it looks ugly. I want you to fix it. They're aware of the problem. They're concerned about it. What do you think the odds of case acceptance are? High or low? High. It's high case acceptance. They're aware of it, they're concerned about it. Doc, I got a toothache. I was up all night. I don't know if it's top, I don't know if it's bottom. I don't know if it's back or if it's front, it hurts. I don't know where it is, don't know what's going on. But I want you to fix it. What's the likelihood of case acceptance? High or low? High, yeah. They don't know what's going on, but they're concerned about it. By the way, these are your second opinions. Second opinions, they are motivated buyers. They're concerned, but they're just looking for their opinion. They're unaware of what's going on. These are your second opinions, by the way. Mr. Jones, I see you have a missing tooth. Tell me about that. Yeah, it's been missing for 20 years. I chew my food just fine, and I'm still cute. He doesn't give a crap. So what do? We give him a $5,000 implant treatment plan, right? We give him a $5,000 solution to something that's not a problem. What's the likelihood of case acceptance? High or low? Low. Hygienists, how many of your patients come in looking like this? They got no clue. You educate, you diagnose, you show them the x-rays with the little barnacles on the teeth. You tell them, you go through all this. See, when I stab your gums like this, you see how they bleed? That's bad. And the patient's like, oh, yeah. Can I just do some whitening? They don't care. It doesn't hurt them. Right? They can't feel the warmth of their breath coming back at them. You know this patient. Hey. I'm like, hey, what's up? They don't know. They don't care. It doesn't hurt. So what do? We give them a $1,200 option, and you got to come back twice. Can't do it today. It's going to cost you $1,200. You got to take 2 more days off work. What's the odds of case acceptance? High or low? Low. Right? So all this dentistry, it's going to fall into one of these 4 categories. This is a very important point because we doctors, we're logical thinkers. We think if we explain the heck out of stuff, they're going to get it done. We're going to raise dental IQs, build value. Wrong. That's our perception. It's not the patient's perception. But I want you to know this. Educating patients only serves to raise their awareness, not their concern. This is a very important slide. It's a very important thought. And if you don't get it today, one day it's going to click, a light bulb's going to go up. Educating patients only serves to raise their awareness, not their concern. Talking at people only raises their awareness, not their concern. So what does that mean? It means that I take this patient here who's unaware and concerned, and I educate him. I just moved him there. He was saying yes before, and he's saying yes now. If I take this patient who's unaware and unconcerned and I educate them, I just move them there. Talking at them, educating them, informing them. They've already made up their mind whether they give a crap or not. You guys, you get it? They've already made up their mind whether they give a crap or not. And us talking at them, blah, 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 blah. It doesn't do anything. It does not change whether they're going to say yes or no. I mean, even think back to dental school. I mean, I remember at Tufts Dental School, we had our initial patient chart was 16 pages long, and the first 6 of them were all perio, right? Even now, we bring everybody in through hygiene. So everything's perio, perio, perio. And I'm not saying don't talk about perio. I'm saying don't talk about perio first. Let's start first with the things that they are aware of and they are concerned with. Because what better way to create a disconnect or tell the patient that we have a difference in perception is going right to the thing that they don't give a crap about first. Let's start first with the thing that they do care about. And then just move through here. And spend very little time down here on the bottom, right? Spend very little time down there. These are the things that they just don't give a crap about. On Monday morning, or whenever you go back to your office, bring up these 4 categories on a whiteboard or something like that, and just have your staff come up with some ideas. What is some dentistry that people might be aware of and concerned about? And just write a list. You'll come up with your own list of dental problems. What might they be unaware of yet concerned about? Come up with a list of problems. What might they be aware but unconcerned? Come up with a list. We did this with our staff. They did a great job. They came up with some great ideas. So these are the people that are saying yes. These are the people that are saying no, not right now. So between awareness and concern, which do you think is a greater motivating factor for case acceptance? Concern. Educating people only raises their awareness. It does not raise their level of concern. And it's concern that is directly related to case acceptance. People buy on emotion, and then they justify with logic. If you've read any sales book in the history of the universe, you've learned this. Concern is an emotion. They've already made up their mind. And then they just justify whatever their decision is, whether it be yes or no, with logic. And we're trying to solve an emotional problem with a logical concern by talking at them, explaining, educating. I'm not saying don't explain and educate. You have to. You have to explain and educate enough to give a patient a reasonable ability to make a decision. But you don't have to give them a DDS, okay? So instead of moving them side to side, we want to move them up. We want to raise their level of concern, raise their level of emotion. And this is where the big leagues come in. These are where the master communicators come in. And again, you're not doing it with your mouth. You're doing it with your ears. So we want to raise them this way. We want to bring them this way. That's where they say yes. That's the yes zone. How do you raise somebody's level of concern? Well, as I tell my associates, you can't. I didn't say I can't, but you can't. We have to first recognize that concern is subjective and it's the patient's subjectivity. It's not ours. It's theirs. Only they can raise their level of concern. You really can, though, but you have to be a leader and not a teacher. Teaching does not do it. Leading does. You can, again, remember, I used to be an extrovert. I used to raise people's level of concern all the time. I used to raise their emotion all the time. I can raise some emotions. Avoiding dental treatment is not a logical problem. It's not logical. It's emotional. Well, unless you're a hockey player, then it makes sense. Then it is logical. The reason why people can't get up there is because they have a ceiling. It's preventing them from getting there. It's called an objection. Can't get there. You can't do it. It doesn't matter how much you explain it. Their brain's not going to get past that objection. And that objection is an emotional objection. And there's 3 steps in overcoming an objection. This just comes from Grant Cardone, a sales book. Anticipate, validate, eliminate. Anticipate it. As I mentioned, there's only 4 objections in dentistry. Everyone thinks the big one is money. Money is an emotional reason. And if you don't believe me, just go downstairs to this casino, seeing if they're making logical decisions. These hotels weren't paid for by logic. Money is an emotional reason. Fear is an emotional reason. Bickling called it pain, fear. It's in the name, fear. It's emotional. Time is an emotional reason. Raise your hand if you've ever been late for work. Right? What's your heart rate doing? Boom, boom, boom. Raise your hand if you've ever been swamped at work. Right? It's not the amount of work you have to do, it's the amount of time that you have to do it in. Time is an emotional reason. And trust. And again, I think this is the big one. But you're lucky. Patients will give you $1,500 worth of trust. I think money's a fake objection. I think it's a fake objection. It's the only one you can't answer. We got solutions to all these others. You can't answer money one. So I think trust is the most important. If I were to put them in order, this is the order I would put them in. And the only reason why I don't have money last is because we're open 7 days a week, 7 a.m., 7 p.m. We've already solved the time problem. If a patient breaks a tooth and comes in at 6:50 in the morning, the Saturday before New Year's, we're the only ones in town that are open. We've already solved the time problem. But if I was the average dentist who's open 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday, 8 to 5, this is the order I would put it in. I think money is a fake objection. I think trust is the big one, followed by fear and time. So we've already anticipated. We know what the objections are going to be. We know what the emotional barrier is going to be. This is the next step. And this is another place where we shoot ourselves in the foot. You need to validate that objection. I didn't say agree with it. I said validate it. Because these objections are usually somewhat based in reality. Man, that's expensive. You're right, it is. I hear this all the time. I hear it in my offices. Somebody raises a financial objection. Man, that's expensive. And the person's like, no, it's not. Think of it as an investment. Like, what does that even mean? You put a crown on your tooth and it's going to compound at 8% annually and it's not an investment. It's a cost. When you go get your car repaired, is that an investment? No, it's a cost of maintaining something. It's a cost. And $1,000 is a lot of money. I listened to a financial podcast, and I just heard this week, 40% of Americans, if they were presented with a $400 bill, they would not have the cash to cover it. 40% of Americans. Yeah, $1,000 is a lot of money. Instead of trying to put the patient in our shoes, maybe we should put ourselves in their shoes. Validate it. You're right, it is a lot of money. But that's not the end of the story. We're gonna help you through that emotional objection. Okay? It's usually a reality to them. Here's another one I hear all the time. Patient tells you they're scared of the dentist. Oh, I'm scared of the dentist. There's nothing to be scared of. Stupid. Yes, there is something to be scared of. We're coming at you with needles and drills, and we're putting them in your mouth. I'm scared of that. I'm terrified of the dentist. I have a filling that needs to be replaced. It's been there for 2 years. I am freaked out. It's based in reality. Agree with them. You're right. I'm scared too. We have sedation, you know. You'll notice that when I'm dealing with a scared patient, I change my tone to match their tone. I empathize with them. I put myself in their shoes. Empathy goes a long way. And guys, we've been doing it the exact opposite. We've been trying to put them in our shoes. It's not expensive. There's nothing to be scared of. No. The exact opposite. You're right, it is expensive. You're right, it is scary. But you know what? I'm here with you, and I'm going to help you through that. I'm going to help you overcome that objection. Because again, not getting dentistry done is not logical. It's emotional. So we have our barriers. Money. Break it down to a smaller treatment plan. Get them that treatment plan that falls below that level of trust. There's two types of shoppers. There's total cost shoppers, and then there's monthly payment shoppers. So if it's a monthly payment shopper, well, I know it's a lot of money. Maybe if we gave you monthly payments with Care Credit, would that work for you? Question mark. Instead of talking at them, ask questions. Learn to talk in questions. I used to have a thing where I'd bring somebody up and we'd talk in questions. I don't have enough time to do it today. But I teach our staff to talk in questions. Your sentences better end with question marks. You can give a little information in that question, but it better end in a question mark. Fear. You're right. I'm scared too. We have sedation. Is that something you would like? Empathy goes a long way in solving fear. Putting yourself in their shoes. Time. Again, like Declan said, do the same day. Don't be proud of being booked out 2 weeks. I agree. Don't be proud of that. You're not serving the community. You're serving yourself. Open 7 days a week. There's nobody in my community that has solved time better than Strong Smiles Dental Care has. And trust. This is the big one. You are so lucky that they give us, we should thank ourselves. We should be so thankful that they at least give us $1,500 worth of trust. And we should challenge ourselves to communicate better so that we can earn more of that trust so we can help more people. Listen, empathize, care, build relationships. And just like Declan said earlier, what if they don't want to get it done? You go, okay. It's okay. You let me know when you're ready. Let them off the hook. Take the heat off of them. Okay. You're a good person. I'm a good person. I understand you don't want to get it done right now. You let me know when you're ready, and we'll be here for you 7 days a week with same-day appointments. Right? Isn't that serving people? Paul Homily, I mentioned him earlier. He has a quote in one of his books. This is actually the title of a chapter. It's called, "When the Patient is Ready, the Dentist Will Appear." And I live by that philosophy. I am not a hard sales guy. I talk in questions. I listen to the person. I find out what they do and don't know and what they do and don't believe. I may fill in the blanks a little bit. I'll give them enough information so that they can make an informed and educated decision. And I'll say, would you like to get started? Question. And they'll let me know. And then I just go, okay. And the better my questions are, I'll eventually lead them to tell me what dentistry they want to have done, and then I'll just go, yep, I agree. We get really, really good at talking at people. And this is funny. Of those 4 patients that I saw this year, all 4 of them, 2 of them actually said it online, on online reviews, but all 4 of them said this to me. You know, Doc, nobody's ever explained that to me the way you did. I'm like, I didn't say shit. One of them was a second opinion that came from one of my associates. They said, you know, Doc, your associate didn't explain it to me. And I'm like, I know that's not true. They explained the shit out of it to you for 20 minutes. I know that. This is the funny thing. You guys, you hear this all the time. The patients go, nobody's ever explained it. I didn't say it. No, nobody's ever listened to you before. They just talked at you. They just told them their opinion. And guys, we we've established these are the ones that say yes and these are the ones that say no. And talking at them just moves them left to right. It doesn't move them up. We want to move them up. And then final thought is patients are not going to care how much you know until they know how much you care. Thank you very much. I have 49 seconds for questions.
Thanks so much, you guys. Man, I tell you, if you don't leave this meeting, revolutionarily changed, thanks to guys like Bickling and Todd, I'm like, God, hopefully this is making a great impact on your life. And just appreciate you coming and looking forward to seeing how well you do over the next many, many months. And Todd.
Great, thanks, John.
I have a question.
We have a question?
Yes. Question. We love questions.
Thank you.
I assume.
Who can raise your
Right
hand?
here.
I can't see.
Hey.
Over here?
No, right here. Hey, straight ahead. To the
Oh,
right. There
all right,
you
I
go.
see it. Okay. The lights are bright.
I assume when you talk about 1,500, you talk about total treatment amount, regardless of insurance, and regardless of what their copay is.
That's a good
correct?
question. Thank you for asking that because I didn't
And the second one is,
Yep.
obviously you solved your associate problem by doing this, associate model.
Well,
Is that
we're working
correct?
on it, yeah.
Okay.
Was that the second question? I didn't mean to interrupt you.
That was a two-parter.
Okay. So,
Third questions?
So that was a good question. I'm glad you asked that because I do want to clarify that. The statistics that we run are patient's portion. This is out-of-pocket expense now. So if you think about it, the actual total cost of the treatment plan is probably a little higher. But I would say if you're just getting started with this, run it as total cost, okay? And just see where you are, because you don't have any data right now. So maybe just at first, just run that as $1,500 and below treatment plan cost. Let's go from there. And then run the data and find out what your level of trust is. And then use that number. And if you want to use the patient portion, that's what I go with because that's what the patients are doing. That's what they're fronting you. That's the real level of trust right there.
Yeah.
So.
Hi, doctor. I have a question. When you present a treatment plan to the patients, do you present the whole thing, or do you break? Well, like we do, we break it into sections.
So
what the chief complaint is, and or at least what we think it is, or whatever, or is it just one page with 1,500? That's it.
So that's a very good question, and I guess it does need some clarity. So you got that traffic light system, right? So if it's a $7,000 treatment plan, are you presenting $7,000 worth of dental work? No, no. You got that, that goes up into the red light. Don't go there unless they're begging for it. Unless they say, give me $7,000 worth of treatment. They say, absolutely, here's $7,000 worth of treatment. But they may need $7,000, $8,000 worth of work. You are free and clear to give a treatment plan $1,500 or less, whether they care about it or not. You're free and clear. But if they're not concerned about anything, and they need $7,000 worth of work, you say, Mr. Jones, you see all this red on your chart here? I have concerns with that, and I understand that you're not necessarily concerned with that. So let's break it down to this one thing and get started there. And that one thing should come below the $1,500 mark or wherever that is. So again, yes, you can diagnose and you can treatment plan the whole thing, but just understand if you present that, bye. You just kick them out the door because they don't trust you unless they're begging for it. Okay? So good question. Thank you for that clarity.
Another one there.
Another one? Yeah.
Ooh, great question. Statistically, it does.
Yeah, so yeah, maybe John's. The question was, do I ever factor in how long they've been a patient within the practice?
Returning patients produce more than new patients across the board, across the world.
And that's a great question. And I don't have actual objective data on that, but yes, I do. But I will tell you this, the last 2 months at Strong Smiles Dental Care have been our best months in both production and collections and field hygiene. Our new patient numbers have been bleh. All right, so what does that tell you? It's not new patients that's driving our production and driving our collections. It's field hygiene. And that's what we tried to remedy with that trust, because that trust brings them back in 6 months. It's trust.
It's an annuity.
Yeah.
It's an annuity. It can go on for 25, 35 years. It's an annuity. It's one of the biggest assets a dental practice have. In fact, Todd, if you don't mind me saying this, there's a couple cases where I've talked with money guys, real live legitimate money guys, and they just look at the hygiene cycle. That's the annuity, that's the value.
Yeah. That's what we're trying to solve, is that our field hygiene grows every 6 months. If your field hygiene is not growing every 6 months, you've got a trust problem. You got or a capacity problem, but you know, we don't have a, yeah, or both, yeah.
Another question.
Right down the middle.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I can't hear. Can we get a microphone?
Hello? Hello? Okay. Right here.
Right in the middle, yep.
Oh,
No, over here. Oh, there, Justin's got Bogart in the
he's
microphone.
looking in the.
Let's do one more question and then.
All right. Okay, one more question.
Right here.
Yes, hi. First of all, I wanted to thank you. This
Hands
was
down.
a
Okay.
great eye-opening for me. You know, in all years of my career, I have never looked at this side of treatment plan presentation and patient retention. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, thank you. It's
Secondly,
amazing.
yeah, incredible. It was amazing.
science.
Thank you. Yes, it is. Definitely, I took it that way. The second question that I have, how do you handle your specialty services? Do you have a specialist at your office? Because the specialty services are the tricky part because they are more costly and also
Right.
like oral surgery or periodontics, it involves more invasive procedures. How do you handle that?
I love specialists. They have gotten me out of so much trouble in my career, but let's all be honest, specialists are not the most convenient people in the world for patients. My philosophy is we're trying to build super GPs, general practitioners that can do everything. And so we treat any specialty just like we would treat an impacted molar. We refer out liability. Okay, we refer out cases only that we can't do, but we do 95, 99% of cases in-house because we're the only ones open 7 days a week. And if our associates can't do it, I or Dr. Yu, we can. You know, I've got 20 years of experience. I can do pretty much everything. You know, so one of us figures out how to do it. We don't bring in-house specialists. We're looking, our future is super GPs. We think that's going to be a very convenient model to serve the public. So.
Thank you.
But, you know, you just got to get a huge round of applause for all these guys.
Thank you, guys.
The amount of love and
Thank you, John. Thank you very much.